What's going on? It's been a while, so let's jump back into our coverage of Genre Blast Film Festival from this year. What's going on? Welcome to Victims and Villains. If you guys are new to our show, we are a nonprofit that creates content like what you're watching right now to educate and engage individuals like yourself on mental health awareness and suicide prevention through pop culture. My name is Captain Nostalgia. I am both a writer and podcaster here, among other things, and we're so glad that you guys decided to join us. As I said in the cold open, on this episode, we're going to be jumping back into our coverage of Genre Blast. It's been a while since we've done one of these movies. Time has really just kind of gotten away from us. Stick around to the end of the video so you guys can check a playlist of our other reviews and interviews that we were able to cover from that weekend. And for more information on Genre Blast and any of the films that we've talked about thus far, check the link in our descriptions below. But on this video in particular, we're going to be looking at the documentary Witness Underground. Witness Underground tells the story of the blooming music scene that comes out of a small rural town of Jehovah's Witnesses and kind of how they really basically blew up. The film looks at what happens between the growing up in the denomination of Jehovah's Witnesses, and particularly how the faith and structure of the religion actually causes some of the individuals within that music scene to actually leave the faith altogether. Spoiler alert. Though I'm not really sure if that classifies as a spoiler alert because some of it is indicated in the trailers, but I digress. It should also be worth mentioning that this is a debut from director Scott Homan. And you can also catch our interview with him also on this channel. I gotta say, I talked about this in the interview, but even sitting down and reviewing this right now, Homan just feels like such a seasoned director as he's telling this story. There is a through line for this documentary, which I found very refreshing. Sometimes documentaries can suffer from just a cornucopia of information that we really don't get to humanize a central figure or subject. And for this documentary particularly, Homan actually looks at the rise and fall of Ryan Shutter, who's our central subject, and his actual rise and fall with the faith and kind of really where he stands today. It's fascinating to also see how music plays such a pivotal part in this documentary. Not gonna lie, music was among one of my favorite parts of this documentary because just the talent alone from this, from even being like crappy, typical garage bands to being like seasoned artists. It's a fascinating subplot to also see the evolution of these artists that started out playing small basements and kind of see how they evolve and really how their music matures. As I've previously mentioned, Homan just feels like a seasoned director, and it really shows. The way in which he tells the story of not only this budding music genre, but also at the same time how he is able to really take the rise of this music scene, and particularly Sutter in particular, and run the stories parallel towards one another and ultimately climax into this very deeply emotional arc is just absolutely astonishing. Not to mention, I think when some of us think particularly of the Jehovah's Witnesses, there are a lot of stereotypes and cliches wrapped around this particular denomination and those that are involved in it. And this documentary does a really great job at really clarifying and clearing up a lot of those misconceptions and really humanizing the people within the congregations for this denomination. It's a fascinating look at humanity, in all honesty. Witness Underground is not only one of the best documentaries of the year, it is the best film that I came across at Genre Blast. And I'm just going to say it before we get into our mental health moments. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 5 out of 5. This is a legitimately just excellent movie from start to finish. It has a great soundtrack. It has, genuinely funny moments. And also at the same time, it balances itself from like information, but also humanizing the subject, which I feel like is really rare within documentaries. Even out the gate with this being his debut, Scott Homan feels like a master of his craft. Quite honestly, I feel like I can't say enough great things about this movie. Please check this out when you get a chance. And with that, let's get into our mental health moment. If you are new to our videos, mental health moment is the point in the show and or review, because we do this for our written reviews as well, where we'll take a theme of mental health or a piece of encouragement and really dissect it. And it's so easy for a documentary that is focusing on religion not to talk about how religion affects us mentally speaking. As I've said, our central subject, Ryan Sutter, does actually have an end up falling out with the faith. And subsequently, a lot of the other characters and people we meet along the way also have very similar stories. This makes the story both intriguing and heartbreaking. But it really goes to show that religion is one of those things that's so divisive. You have people out here that genuinely care and are not necessarily bad-mouthing you because you don't believe what they believe, but they're willing to have a conversation with you. And then you have people out here that is just like, it's turn or burn kind of thing. Being a Christian myself, this is one of the most interesting conversations I'd like to have with people. But it goes to show, too, that there's a lot of mental health that is tied to what we believe spiritually. So I just want to encourage anyone watching this right now that if you are a believer of any denomination, please be mindful of how you interact with one another. Just because someone doesn't necessarily believe what you believe doesn't make them any less of a person and doesn't invalidate them and their own beliefs. And if you guys want anyone to talk to in terms of religion, in terms of spirituality, and why you believe what you believe, and just anything in general, feel free to drop a line in the comments below, and or just let us know. And yeah, feel free to reach out to our mental health resource library as well. So I think that's going to do it for us on this episode. Make sure that you guys please check out Witness Underground. It is a phenomenal documentary. Like I said, I can't say enough good things about it. It's an incredible piece of cinema. And we'll be back with more Genre Blast coverage.